Welcome to Brier's Music Showcase. I'm Bryer and welcome back to another video. And in this one, we're doing another CD haul where I go through all the CDs I acquired throughout the month and I give my first impressions on them. So if you were here last month, you know just what a nightmare that was with just how much I picked up. Thankfully, in March, I actually was able to really dial down and not get as much. So I have about, I know it's less than 30, I forgot the exact total, I think 29, I think. So we're just going to go through them and just give my thoughts on them. And all these CDs are contenders for the end of the year top 50 discoveries. So if you enjoy these videos, please give this a like, subscribe if you are new, and let's just jump right into it. Starting this haul off, we have some country with Chris Stapleton with his first album, Traveler. So I'm not going to say a lot here because this is actually an album exchange suggestion. For those who are new, I do a little kind of album exchange, or I guess a book club if you will, or an album club if you want to call it that, where me and some friends just get together and we just talk about some albums that we suggest and we give our thoughts on them. And this was one from Jacob Martin, and again, I'm not going to say a lot here, but I did want to get it for that album exchange. And yeah, it's a little beat up, I will say. That's what happens sometimes where you buy from Amazon. What can you do about it? In any case, that's the first one I'll show, Chris Stapleton, Traveler. So next up, we have a modern pop album. This came out last year, and it's from a very popular artist. We have Billie Eilish with her album, Hit Me Hard and Soft. So I know definitely 100% confident there's a lot of people in my audience that really do not like Billie Eilish with a passion. And yeah, I decided to get an album from her, because why not? Well, that's not true. There's actually another reason why I got this album. And the story behind it is that I was on YouTube and I came across this kind of animated music video where it's just somebody took clips from a TV show or anime and just put a song behind it. And I came across one of these videos, and the song that was playing, I was immediately kind of hooked on because I just love the melody to it, and I like the tone of the vocals. And I was surprised to learn that was actually Billie Eilish. And the song in question is on this album, and the song is Birds of a Feather. And that was basically the song that kind of made me interested. And I got this one, and I pretty much dug the album. I really liked it. Has a pretty interesting vibe to it. Of course, Birds of a Feather is my favorite song on here, that goes without question. But there's some other songs here that I liked. It's only 10 songs, so it's not that long of an album. Obviously, you know, again, this is not gonna convince anybody to appreciate Billie Eilish. And even now, I still wouldn't exactly call myself a super fan at this moment. But this was definitely a nice album to kind of dip my toes and kind of really shed that, because I was definitely one of those people who tried to avoid Billie Eilish as much as possible, but now I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm starting to soften now. Any case, yeah, who knows, maybe we'll check out another album from her. But of course, I gotta put some more heavy metal in here, and we have another album from the Japanese band Anthem with their album Bound to Break. Now, if you saw the last month CD haul, then I picked up 2 other albums from this band, and I was absolutely floored by them. I absolutely loved what I was hearing, and this was another one I bought, but it came a little bit late, so I included it for this month, and it did not disappoint. This is going to be yet another excellent album, just heavy, got some great guitar riffs, the vocals are really cool, and just all around, it is a great album. Like, I still want to deep dive Anthem more. We'll see how it goes. I might take a little bit of a break because they are not that cheap to come by, but it is absolutely excellent metal music. So if you're a metal fan and you've not heard of Anthem, then I implore you, please give it a listen. Absolutely killer stuff. And now a complete shift, we have another David Bowie album, and this is Tonight from 1984. So of course I'm slowly still building that Bowie collection, And this is just another one I just so happened to stumble upon in a record store. And this is the follow-up to Let's Dance, which was a huge seller. And I've heard this still sold fairly well, but obviously critically not as well received. And even David Bowie has said it's not one of his favorites, and I am gonna agree with that. It's okay. There's some decent songs. Like, I liked the first song, Alien, Loving the Alien, but then it kind of gets a bit hit or miss after that. You know, Don't Look Down, it's like a more reggae type of track, if I remember correctly. Then you have the pretty lackluster cover of God Only Knows, which is my favorite Beach Boys song, one of my favorite songs in general, so you know I'm going to be very critical of that. Tonight was okay. You have Tina Turner on it, and yeah, and it just kind of keeps going from being decent to just kind of forgettable. So unfortunately, this is not one of my favorite Bowie albums, but again, it's good for the collection, I guess. But yeah, I don't have much else to say about this one. Last month I picked up a ton of Chicago, and here I found another one. We have Chicago 11. Of course, what's notable about this album is that it's the final album to feature Terry Kath before he would tragically die in a freak accident. But it's definitely a very solid one for him to go out with. It's another album from them I really enjoyed. You know, Mississippi Delta City Blues is a good opening song. Baby What a Big Surprise, which was a single. Taking It on Uptown, that's actually very hard to say for some reason. Little One is another good closing song. Yeah, it's still a very solid Chicago album. I don't know where it would rank right now, but still a very enjoyable album, and definitely, like I said, a good album for Terry Kath to go out with. Of course, the band will continue on after this, but who knows, maybe one day we'll check those out. So definitely another good addition here. So these next two are from the same band, and it's a band that has a pretty big cult following, and this is probably when they were starting to get really mainstream. And the band is Chumbawamba. I know, very funny name for a band, but if you're unfamiliar who Chumbawamba are, they pretty much started out as a very hardcore punk band, but by the time we get to this album, which is 1997, they just out of the blue decided to go for a more commercial sound. And of course, this album right here that you'll see right now is called Tub Thumper, and that song turned out to be a huge single, one of the biggest songs of that year. And I heard the song before buying this, and I thought it was a really fun song. You know, pretty sure some of you already know the chorus. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. And really, I just got this album just because it has that song on it, and I was kind of curious on what the rest of the album sounded like, and it's actually fairly enjoyable. I actually kind of liked it. I still think the first song, The Big Hit, is by far the best song, but there's some pretty interesting elements to this one. It has a bit of an alternative rock feel, but also has a bit of dance pop on here, which is interesting. It's a very interesting album, and of course the album cover is very kind of cursed in itself. But I was pleasantly surprised with this one. So how did the next album fare, which I also picked up, and this one is called WYSIWYG. I'm pretty sure that means something, but I didn't get a chance to look it up. But you have a dog on the cover, so what can I do about that? So yeah, this is the follow-up album to the previous one that I just showed, and it's decent. I will say this is a lot stronger, but this one has some interesting moments because there's a lot more interlude type of stuff here, which I'm not as crazy for, but it still has a very similar sound, still playing around with that dance pop sound, and I wouldn't say the songs here are as memorable as the previous one, but it's not bad. But this could be one I need to listen to more. But yeah, it's good to get more Chumbawamba. Like, I definitely want to check out their more punk sound to see where they started out as. Who knows, maybe I'll find those in the wild. But overall, Chumbawamba, fascinating. Very fascinating band. And this one I'll also be brief because this is another album exchange CD. I believe this one was suggested by my friend Sky, and it's Creed, Human Clay. And again, it's an album exchange selection, so I'm not going to say my opinion on it here. But, well, Creed, they're kind of a more late 90s band, late 90s, early 2000s sort of sound, kind of grungy, alternative rock. That's all I'll say at the moment, but just wanted to at least show it. But here's one I'll definitely talk about. We have The Darkness with the album Permission to Land. And of course, they're kind of like to most people, they're seen as a one-hit wonder because of the big hits, I believe, in a thing called Love. And they're kind of like a homage to like a glam rock sort of thing, power pop almost, if you will. And I really dug this one. I had a lot of fun with this one. You know, the singer, Justin Hawkins, you know, he has a very exaggerated falsetto, which I can kind of see people thinking, or people, you know, believing it sounds a little annoying, which I wouldn't blame you. But for me, I thought it was fun. I think he has a really cool voice, very theatrical, very bombastic, and you can tell they probably had a lot of fun recording this one. And there's some really good hooks on here. There's some really catchy melodies throughout the album, which I think was really nice. So I definitely want to check out more of The Darkness. And I know later on they would get the son of Roger Taylor of Queen. His son would be the drummer for the band at some point, which kind of nice little fun fact. Maybe we'll get some of those albums with him on it. But in any case, The Darkness, very fun band. And now we have a debut album from a very notable female band. We have Fanny. And I gotta say, this was probably the most I've spent at a record store, because I think I paid for like $30 for this. And I want to say these CDs came out very limitedly, so that's why the prices are pretty high. But you know, despite the high price, I just had to get one because of course I have another Fanny album that was donated by Mickey. It was called Charity Ball, which I really enjoyed. So I was very fortunate to find another one in the wild. And like I said, it's their debut album. And it's another really strong album. Again, Fanny are a band that obviously they're not really as well known as other like all-female groups in terms of the rock scene, but they're very influential. I know they've influenced a ton of bands after them, and they're a band that seems to be almost forgotten, which to me is kind of a shame because there's some really good stuff here. The guitar work is great, the bass playing is great, some great vocals from, I'm pretty sure most of them sing. Great keyboard playing, good drumming. It's a very good debut album. So there's still some more Fanny I need to check out still, but we'll see if I ever find those in the wild for a cheaper price. But if you have not checked out Fanny, go check them out because I think they're a very important band to listen to. But there you go. And now we have The Firm with their first album. Of course, The Firm is a super group because you have Paul Rodgers, Jimmy Page, and you have Jeff Franklin and Chris Slade. And it's a very, very good album, I will say. Now, if you're expecting a good all-around rock album with amazing guitar riffs and just solos all around, you might be a little disappointed because yes, Jimmy Page is you do hear him, but it's not like he's like the main focus or the main show. Honestly, the bass playing from, did I say Jeff Franklin? No, I think it's Tony Franklin, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah, Tony Franklin. Like the bass playing from him, I think is even more prominent. And hey, I am not complaining. Of course, Paul Rodgers has some great vocals throughout the album, and it's just a very good kind of mid-80s rock album. Not much to say about it really, but it's pretty cool. I think it's definitely worth a listen if you're curious to hear anything with Jimmy Page outside of Zeppelin. It's pretty nice. So yeah, pretty good album. And now we have some King's X with the album Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. Now, King's X gets brought up from time to time, and I believe some people in my comic section kind of talk about them a little bit. They're kind of a more heavier, progressive metal sort of band, and people talk very highly of them. So, lo and behold, I found one at a record store, and I decided to give it a chance. And very impressed. I thought this was a pretty good, strong start in my journey of King's X. I think it's basically a power trio. Yeah, just a power trio. And the playing on here is really good. Like, the guitar work is great, got some great riffs, good solos here and there, and it even gets funky from time to time with some really great bass playing and drumming. I believe it's a concept album, but I forgot what the concept was. But it all comes together really well. So I'll definitely need to check out more King's X. If you're a big King's X fan, then please let me know some suggestions in the comments below, of course. And yeah, it's pretty good, pretty great find, I will say. And now we have some more Midnight Oil with the album Red Sails in the Sunset. This is definitely a Midnight Oil album I've been meaning to pick up, and I was very happy to find one. And it's another really good one. I mean, the last Midnight Oil album I acquired was donated from Steve Harold, and that was, I think it was called Breathe. It was called Breathe, and I was kind of disappointed with that one. So now it's nice to get back to more classic Midnight Oil. And it's only 12 songs, but there's really good stuff all around. Good playing, of course, and it's interesting because I believe the drummer sings on a couple tracks, which is, I believe, the only album which they actually let the drummer sing a little bit, which is kind of a nice little fun fact, which kind of makes this album stand out. But overall, another solid album from Midnight Oil, and yeah, there's still more albums to check out from them. So yeah, we'll see what I find from here on out. Now we have some Joni Mitchell with Taming the Tiger. This is a more late 90s album. It came out in 98, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously Joni Mitchell has gone through many phases. Like, during her late period, she kind of goes for a more slower, smooth jazz sort of field, which, if you're not a fan of that sound, then you're probably not gonna like it. If you just like her for the folk stuff from her early period, that stuff's not really in here that much. And her vocals are a lot lower. She doesn't really hit any high notes at all at this point. But I quite liked it. I liked the vibe she was going for. And still some solid playing, some good saxophone here. And again, her voice is a lot lower, but to me it still sounds like Joni. And I think the emotion still comes through. But am I gonna come back to this album that much? I'll be honest, maybe not really that much. But when I gave it a listen, I had a good time with this one, and I love the artwork too. Like, there she is with a little kitty on the cover. And there's Kitty in the back too. So I like that. I really like that quite a bit. But yeah, it's a pretty solid album. But again, it's not gonna be one of my more all-time favorites from her. Okay, so we have some kind of country pop, I guess. We have Dolly Parton with 9 to 5 and Odd Jobs. So yeah, I just decided to pick up a Dolly Parton album, just why not? I mean, I know the title track, 9 to 5, which was a pretty big hit for her. And I was not familiar with any other songs here, but yeah, I like Dolly Parton. I like her voice, and she has some good songs. And there's some good songs on here too. Not everything is great. I'm not really into her more disco rendition of House of the Rising Sun, which was kind of odd. And she plays with disco quite a bit here, but some of it works, some of it doesn't. Yeah, it's a very simple album. It's a very short album, so again, I got nothing really in-depth to say about it. Obviously, if you're a Dolly Parton fan, you're definitely gonna enjoy this one. But if you're not, I wouldn't say this will convince you, but I mean, I had fun with it. It was a good time. Again, if you want to check out more Dolly Parton, something a bit more of her early period, I would check out more. And now we have a band, or I don't know if you call this a band. I think it's mostly a solo project, but the band is called Party Nails, and this is their album Pillow Talk. So this is the final CD that I bought from Bandcamp. By the way, I still plan to make a video about Bandcamp in the future. So now I have all the albums I bought. I just need to gather my thoughts on my experience at Bandcamp. But this came a lot later down the road. This took about a month to get to me, which I'm not going to go more in depth on right now, but just a little something to point out. But overall, this is a pretty good album. It is kind of on that indie pop, indie rock field. Some nice songs, good production. You know, songs like Same Old Song, First Responder, Bull in the China Shop, Trigger Warning, Some Way Somehow are pretty good tracks. Vocals were pretty cool. And yeah, there's some good melodies and hooks on here. It's not one of my favorites of the one I bought from Bandcamp, but still, it's a very strong one and definitely worth checking out if you like some more indie pop, indie rock in your collection. So there you have it. Now we have Jane Siberry with Bound by the Beauty. And I talked about this one a little bit, but this is her follow-up to The Walking. And this is a pretty good, pretty solid album. Another one I don't have much to say. It's pleasant, and it's definitely a bit more conventional. I think The Walking was a bit more out there, I guess, if you will. But here she's kind of going on a more, there's definitely a lot of country on this album, which was kind of interesting. Vocals were pretty good still, but I might need to listen to this more, because I still prefer The Walking. I think that was more up my alley. This was a bit more safe, I guess. But again, not bad, but not one of my favorites I've heard this month. But still, nice to check out more of her. I've said this before, but I've heard people call her the Canadian Kate Bush, and there are moments of that, but maybe I was expecting a bit more, but that's just me. And here is yet another album exchange selection. This is Carly Simon, Coming Around Again, and this was Jason's suggestion, I believe. Again, just like the others, I'm not going to say much here, but just want to at least show it that I do have it. So yeah, we'll see how I feel on Carly Simon. It's actually the first Carly Simon to enter the collection. I could have started with You're So Vain, but no, I started with this one, but whatever. Let's keep moving. And now we have Guilty from Barbra Streisand. And yeah, I bought it just for the joke, because I showed this before in a previous video, but I do have the album sleeve, no record, just the sleeve. It was kind of a surprise, I guess, but I'm not gonna go through the whole story behind it. But I had that, and so I decided when I saw it was to just get it, just for the funny of it. And I came in with very low expectation, but I'm gonna be honest, I actually didn't think it was that bad. I actually kind of liked it quite a bit. And it probably is due to the fact you have Barry Gibb on here, and you know, Barry Gibb is a great songwriter, and so a lot of the songs he writes here are pretty good. And there's some duets that Barbara does with Barry, and they sound pretty good together. You know, me and quite a lot of people, a good chunk of people, often kind of make fun of Barbra Streisand. Kind of don't really see much greatness in her, probably. But you know, she's a pretty notable figure, so I'm not gonna bash her or anything. But is this gonna be something I'm gonna play all the time? Probably not. But it's one of those albums where in the moment you're kind of vibing with it, and yeah, it's kind of pleasant. So good on you. And here is another modern pop album. We have Harry Styles with Fine Line. Of course, Harry Styles, formerly of One Direction, because there's no way they're getting back together now. But this is a solo album, and I do remember when it came out, it was pretty big. I know Watermelon Sugar was the big song on here, and that's the song I do like. It's a good, catchy song. And the rest of the album kind of is pretty good too. It kind of goes in is a nice, good, funky, kind of catchy vein. His vocals were pretty solid all the way through. I wouldn't say he's like an amazing singer, but it fits the style he's going for. You know, songs like Watermelon Sugar, like I mentioned, Adore You, Falling, Treat People with Kindness, the title track, are all pretty solid. Good production, and it's a pretty good album. I will say it. Again, still wouldn't say it's like an amazing album, like, oh my god, where has this album been all my life? No, it's just a very solid modern pop album. So there we go. Right, so these next two are from the same band, and we have Styx. Now I have Styx 2, which is of course their second album, but I also picked up their fourth album, Man of Miracles. So the thing is, I actually technically already own these two, and that's because I own the CD compilation, which I should have picked up before I started recording. Give me one sec. Alright, and here it is. It's this little compilation CD. It's a 2-disc pack, and it includes the first 4 albums from Styx during the Wooden Nickel era, which that was the label they were on originally. And yeah, just at a random chance at a record store, I found these two. So I just had to pick it up because there's really a low chance I'm ever gonna see these two in the wild again. I mean, this one you might see kind of frequently because it has the big hits, which is Lady. But Man of Miracles is definitely not really their most well-known album. And yeah, just kind of a little fun little find here, which I'm pretty happy with. I'll give my brief thoughts on because I have heard these before, so these albums will not make it on the top 50 album discoveries because I did not technically discover them this year. I already knew them. But Styx 2, pretty good album. Of course, you have Lady, but the rest of the album is pretty good too. Nothing amazing quite yet, because they're still kind of finding their way. But still pretty solid. But of the early period, I'd say this is by far the best one because this is definitely their more proggy sort of album. Has some great guitar work, and definitely is a much better indicator of what's to come later. You have good songs like Rock and Roll Feeling, Having a Ball, a song for Suzanne, and the title track's really cool too. Very Uriah Heep sounding, which is pretty cool. But yeah, who knows, maybe one day we'll find the debut and The Serpent is Rising to complete the 4. But only time will tell, but still, nice find. And here is another one of these kind of 2-in-1 packs, but we have the Supremes. We have Where Did Our Love Go and I Hear a Symphony. So I've had a Supremes compilation for a long time, and I didn't know if I was going to get any of the regular albums, but I saw this, it was cheap, so I thought might as well give it a go. You know, Where Did Our Love Go is a big album for them, has some pretty great songs on there. But here, I Hear a Symphony is a pretty interesting one because, like the title suggests, it has a symphony on a lot of the tracks, which is definitely something different. And obviously I do prefer Where Did Our Love Go more, but I Hear a Symphony has some good songs too. Some good, more traditional sounding Supreme songs are here as well. I really liked Any Girl in Love. That's a great kind of more poppy song. But yeah, just bought it. Not much else to say, just some great Motown music, and of course Diana Ross, fabulous singer, and of course everyone else in the group sound really good too. So there we go. I just want to show this one off. And then we have Taylor Swift with Reputation, and it's another one that I'm not going to say much because I'm still planning that series, which is taking forever, I know, but I'm still trying to make sure I have things collected and stuff like that. But yeah, just more to the collection. So there we go. Yeah, let's just move on. But then we have this one. We got Tiffany with her debut album. Now, Tiffany was a pretty notable, kind of popular figure in the late 80s, maybe early 90s maybe. And she would prove to be kind of influential because she would go on to influence other kind of teen pop idols moving forward. And again, another one where I was kind of going in with very low expectations because I didn't know what to expect. I gonna be honest, I kind of dug this album. I kind of liked it quite a bit. Yeah, it's just a good poppy album. Just kind of a bit of pop rock, kind of dancey. Not really dance pop so much, but maybe it could be lumped into that. Maybe. Voice, her voice is not amazing. It's pretty of the time, and it suits the music fairly well. So pretty solid. But the songs are pretty catchy. A lot of good memorable choruses and hooks. Should Have Been Me is nice. Danny's good. Spanish Eyes is probably my favorite song on the album. I really enjoyed Spanish Eyes. I kind of play that song kind of frequently since I've heard it. Kid on the Corner. There is one song I'm not really into, and that's her cover of the Beatles' I Saw Her Standing There, which is kind of okay, not that amazing. But of course there's the big hit, I Think We're Alone Now, which that's also a good song. So there you go, Tiffany. I didn't think I would enjoy Tiffany as much as I did, but you never know. But yeah, there we go. And now we have Thin Lizzy with their album Shades of a Blue Orphanage. So this is their second album, and this is early Thin Lizzy. This is when they haven't quite found their sound quite yet. They're kind of more on that sort of folk rock and maybe a bit of blues. And it's an interesting album. Yeah, this is probably so far my least favorite Thin Lizzy album I've ever heard. But again, this is still interesting to listen to, hearing them this early on. They're still trying to find their unique voice, but still, Phil Lynott is still singing pretty good. You still have that quality that is pretty consistent throughout the catalog. But musically, they're still trying to, figure stuff out. Again, not bad, but definitely the weakest Thin Lizzy album I've heard so far. But yeah, still getting more for the collection. And we have another debut album. We got Van de Graaff Generator. Yep, more Van de Graaff Generator in recent times, I've come to realize. So this is their debut. It's called The Aerosol Grey Machine. And yeah, it's definitely them early on. And I've read that this was originally supposed to be a Peter Hamill solo album originally, but it just turned into an album for a band, which is interesting. And yeah, again, this is them kind of finding their unique voice. You still have Pete Hamill. His vocals are still pretty prominent, and the songwriting is interesting, but nothing quite on that level quite yet. There's seeds of what the band would become later on, but still nothing, stuff that they still need to polish up. I bought it. It was another kind of more expensive CD from a record store because it's kind of rare, but interesting. So yeah, just decided to keep on this Van de Graaff train going, and I think this is the last Van de Graaff CD that record store have. So we'll see if I find any more, but it's definitely a cool find, a little nice oddity in the band's discography. Still very interesting, cool, interesting cover too. And we have the Velvet Underground with their second album, White Light, White Heat. So this is probably their most out there album. It is very experimental, a lot more noise rock in here, which is probably gonna be a turnoff for some, but yeah, I'm a Velvet Underground fan, so I kind of dug it. It's probably not gonna be my all-time favorite from them, of course, because of just how weird it does get, but there's moments within the chaos where there's some really good melodies in there if you really pay attention to it. But the title track is a cool opening song. You have The Gift, which is a kind of weird, bizarre second song because it's mostly just a spoken word thing of this short story that Lou Reed wrote. When you hear the story, it's actually kind of interesting, but it's kind of an oddball song. Lady Godiva's Operations is a quite out there track, which is kind of cool. Here She Comes Now, I Heard Her Call My Name, and Sister Ray. Sister Ray is definitely the big highlight here. It's 17 minutes, but it's shockingly not boring for me. But again, that's just me. So, yep, it's one of their most batshit insane albums, but man, I kind of like it for it. So there you go. And the final CD from the CD haul, we got Weird Al Yankovic with Polka Party. And it's probably my least favorite Weird Al album I've heard so far. This was definitely during a period where he's not really as, well, commercially he's not doing as great as previous albums. There's really no huge song on here aside maybe Christmas at Ground Zero and Living with a Hernia. And those two songs are good, but the rest of the album it's kind of hit or miss. You know, Dog Eat Dogs is pretty solid. Addictive Spud's okay. One of those days is okay. Here's Johnny was okay. But yeah, decent, but not one of Weird Al's best. But still kind of nice to find another one for the collection. So there you go. But yeah, don't have much else to say about them. It's pretty middle of the road. All right, and there you go. That's all the CDs I've picked up for March 2025. Overall, some good, nice surprises here. And some albums I'm not as crazy about, but still, nothing in here was bad, I will say. Nothing was truly awful, which is probably a good thing. But of course, as always, if you love these CD haul videos, please give these a like, subscribe if you are new, and please, in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on any of the CDs that I've shown, and we'll see what April brings. I honestly don't know what April will bring. I don't know if I'm going to buy more or buy less. We'll see what happens. Trying to save money is always going to be a struggle, but still, hopefully you'll look forward to it still. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, and goodbye for now.